You're listening to the Loving BDSM podcast, episode 5. Today we're discussing recent questions about communication sent in by submissives. Hey everybody, Kayla Lords here. Welcome to the Loving BDSM podcast. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The Loving BDSM podcast is produced every Friday for your kinky pleasure and education, and show notes are found at kaylalords.com. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. If you like what you hear, please give us a good review on iTunes so others can find us. You can follow me on Twitter at Kayla Lords, or stalk John Brownstone at southernsirsplace.com. All links are in the show notes. Now, let's get into the show. I had hoped to bring you a longer episode this week with both John Brownstone and myself, but he's sick. Cue sad face. And so it will have to wait. But no worries, I've always got loads to share with you. It's a little scary, actually. This week, I want to take a moment and focus on questions I've been receiving from fellow submissives and turn the questions you might be having around on you a little. Many messages I receive are a synopsis of an issue or problem with an, "Is this okay?" at the end. Well, first of all, if you're asking me, you probably already have an answer in your head. I'm a big believer in going with your intuition. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't okay. That being said, let's look at this from a different angle. Many of the questions I get are about communication. Dominants who ignore, dominants who withdraw, dominants who don't respond. First of all I know of your situation is what you tell me, which means I know almost nothing. There's 3 sides to every story: yours, theirs, and the truth, which is somewhere in the middle. So my first instinct is to ask more questions. Is there something you're missing? Have you actually brought these issues up to your dominant partner? Did they give you a reason at some point for why they do the things they do? And are you ignoring that, or did you forget? So there's always that when it comes to whether something is okay in the world according to Kayla Lords, which means much less than you realize. On the other hand, what's going on in your dominant's life? Is he stressed out about work? Are there hundreds of miles separating you, making your relationship automatically harder than any other? I know, Daddy and I began as a long-distance relationship, and to this day, it was the hardest thing I ever did. Is your dominant the type to withdraw from everyone when they get upset, sick, or stressed? Before you jump to conclusions about being ignored or lied to, take a moment and think about what you know for a fact is going on in your dominant's life. In our world of instant gratification, gotta have it now, don't want to wait, it's common to assume someone should immediately respond to all text messages within a few moments or call you back at the drop of a hat. That's not how the real world works, y'all, and we all know it. But I get it. It's easy to get paranoid that you're being dumped, lied to, or forgotten. What you need to do is think logically. Is he at work right now? Is he in a meeting? Has he told you in the past that he only answers messages at specific times? Does he typically call you back at some point, even if it's not when you want him to? Does he respond quicker when you're having a real emergency? Think broken down on the side of the road emergency, not I don't know what to wear today, was missing you, sir. When will I get to see you again emergency? That doesn't count. Now, if you can't answer those questions in the positive, meaning the answer is no and he really does ignore you, you've got bigger issues. Maybe it can be solved by something as easy as a serious conversation. Okay, I say easy, but it's easier than a breakup, I promise. Maybe you assume he should read your mind and should know just how important quick responses are to you. Pro tip over here, never assume anyone can read your mind, not even your dominant. Never, ever. Always tell them how you feel, what you want, what you need, what makes you happy or unhappy. You can't hold them accountable for something you never said. When in doubt, talk it out. If your dominant isn't willing to talk out an issue that feels serious to you, you may have a problem. Now let me add a caveat to that. When you're ready to talk about something isn't always the right time. I don't think anyone, especially a dominant who's supposed to be in charge or in control, should drop everything simply because you have a pressing issue. Legitimate emergencies notwithstanding, of course. They should be willing to have the conversation, but you need to be willing to wait for it to be a good time for you both. Okay, so you've talked it out. You've thought about what might be going on in his life or day and still don't see any reason for a lack of communication. Hell, maybe it's been several days with no word and he never gave you any reason for it, and you're positive he didn't have his own emergency. Well now, okay, we're getting into the no, this isn't okay territory. It's time to think about different things. Is this just your dominant's personality? And is it something you can live with? I don't mean twist yourself into knots, become someone you're not, and pretend to be happy when you're really miserable. Not at all. But can you adapt to not hearing from your dominant on a regular basis, as long as you hear from him or her eventually? Is it a quirk of personality or something more serious? It really is okay to say that it's not acceptable to you. I don't advocate for ultimatums. They never work out for anyone. But you can explain your position. If there's no willingness to compromise, or at least help you understand and accept how things are, you've got a hard decision to make. Okay, so is your dominant truly ignoring you? Here's the thing. I truly believe before you send me, a total stranger, an email about this, you already know the answer. Sometimes you're being ignored because your dominant already told you what they could do, would do, and wouldn't do, and you're still pushing. Sometimes, sadly, it's worse than that. They're not as committed to the relationship as you are, and you're not a priority in their life. Now, in a relationship where that's been communicated and understood, that's one thing. But if you believe you're in a completely committed relationship, but your partner doesn't act like you are, that's definitely a problem. At the end of the day, only you know what you want and need. The thing that makes me sad for people in general, submissives or dominants, is when you ignore your own needs and the little intuitive voice in your head to be something for someone else. Yes, as submissives, we bend to the will of our dominant, and no, it's not always easy. A good dominant challenges you, stretches you, and pushes at your boundaries, but they shouldn't make you question their loyalty or their feelings for you. They have a responsibility to you as their submissive. You have responsibilities to them too. But you also have to be responsible for yourself. You have to be honest about what you want and need, your own actions, what they've said and haven't said, and what you're willing to live with. Just because someone isn't a good dominant for you doesn't make them a bad dominant. Likewise, just because you're not a good fit for your dominant doesn't make you a bad submissive. Everyone has different needs. Figure out what yours are. Decide which are deal breakers, the things you refuse to compromise on, and frankly, good, consistent communication should be in there somewhere. And then make a choice. Stay and work it out, or go and let each of you find the right person for you. There are no right answers in most cases. Only you know what you need and want. It takes getting brutally honest with yourself sometimes in order to figure it out. Well, that's it for me this week. Don't let my words today stop you from emailing me if you have questions. I'm always happy to give you my perspective. Just remember, it's only the opinion of one person and doesn't mean anything compared to that of you and your dominant. Got a question or a topic suggestion for an upcoming episode? Drop me a line at kaylalords@gmail.com and I'll answer you personally, and you may hear about it later on a future episode. Okay, y'all, keep it kinky and we'll see you next week.